when I got the individual funding, I thought to myself, I don't know, what am I going to do with it? And then I decided to ask Cain's speech therapy, Tina, to ask for a bit of help, and she helped me and guided me to find a trampoline that was suitable for my son, and it's a safe trampoline. We went on the internet, we had a look, and to make sure it was a good one. That's how I used the individual funding from Plumtree. Yeah. My partner and my 3 kids are Aboriginal. Individual funding is for everyone, including Aboriginals. I got a behaviour lessons for him, and what my son, it was very long and it was very full on, and my son didn't like it, and also what they made him do, it was just very too much. So I learned from that that wasn't a good experience for my son and my family, and I learned that I wouldn't do that again. But that therapy was just very hard to do and to watch, because some of the things they made my son do and make us do wasn't very, to me it just felt a bit too much, that's all. Yeah.
So is there information that you would ask before
I
starting
would
again?
ask more questions about doing behaviour lessons. I would ask about how it would go, how long's the lessons, what actually techniques in the lesson, like what would you have to do in the lesson before you actually want to do this. I think it was 10 weeks or 20 weeks. I would actually ask before you do it, because it is very full on for behaviour, and yeah, you just got to be prepared. So I would ask lots of questions before I do it, before you decide on actually getting it in the first place. I shouldn't have done that. So I learnt my lesson by not asking all them questions before, by doing it, because it goes a very long time. Yeah. Other people have asked me to do some other things by, you know, some other, like behaviour lessons or, you know, OT and stuff, and I ask a lot of questions now, and then when I actually hear about what's going to happen and what's going to happen in that lesson, I'm like, oh no, that's okay, I won't do that. Because I've learnt my lesson from the first one. It's kind of, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that again, and I don't want to put my son through that again, because my son has been doing this for a very long time, and he's so over it, and he's had so much help, and it's good that I got so much help with all them things. And it's good that I learnt from all them mistakes, but I wouldn't go back and do it again. I just ask a lot of questions would be a good thing. If anyone asks you, oh, you should do this, you know, oh, okay, I'll ask a lot of questions, because if you don't ask questions, you won't know. Like, that's how I learnt my mistake from the first time. The questions that I ask all the time gets me to get me to, like, to get questions from the people, but also the best person that knows your kid is you. And I don't always believe what professionals tell you. You have to think that, you know, what you can say, what you can take in what they're saying, but does it mean that they're right? No, it doesn't mean they're always right. So you have to you think to yourself, you're the best, like you're the best person that knows your kid, and you have to do the right decision yourself.
So can you ask them questions?
You can ask them questions and ask and see what they say. It doesn't mean that they're right. And you tell the professionals, you know, you might be right, you might think you're right, but I know my kid better than you. So that you tell them they're not always right. And you can just take what they say in, but doesn't, you know the best for your kid.
You have the confidence to say, for Cain, I want this to happen.
Well, yes, I do. I always speak for my son, and I always do the right thing. And I always say, if they say you should do this, I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that for my son. I don't think it's the right thing. And people say, you know, you should, you know, do this. I'm like, oh, no, that won't help him. That's going to make the problem a bit actually worse than what it is. So I try to do the right thing by my son all the time. I always make sure he comes first in anything what he has to do with any project or anything like that. They don't talk. And I thought maybe if he got speech therapy, he'd be able to talk, and without Plumtree, he wouldn't have spoke. So I thank you very much, because my son talks now, and I've had so much help by you. It was a great thing, and I don't think that my son would be the little boy he is today without Plumtree helping me, and that's the truth. So the funding that you do get from yous is a big thing. It helps families that actually really need it to buy things for their kids that have disabilities, and parents sit there and think, oh no, what do you do? But then you have people in Plumtree that help you, and then for my son, that was a big thing. It got him, helped him to go to school. It got him ready for school, got his uniform, and that he was really excited about going to school. So Plumtree helped him to get that, and I'm grateful because without you, my son wouldn't talk, and I thank you so very much.
So was that something that you asked specifically Plumtree to do? You said I'd like to help in that.
Did you ask? That was Tina and Jody.
Yeah, they helped.
Speech pathologists. So did you say, I want my son to talk?
Yes, because he did speak a little bit, but not as good as now. And because they helped him, with speech therapy, and they got him to talk and say sounds and that, now my son talks that well. And he didn't talk at all, really. So it was really good. And he got rid of his dummy. He used to have a dummy in his mouth, and he got rid of that because he started talking, and it was really good. And they used to take it out and say to him, get rid of your dummy so you can talk and do speech therapy with us. And he grew into this little boy, and I was like, oh my God, he can talk. And he used to just say, all the time, and I was like, oh no. And then when these Tina and Jody came and helped him, it was like a miracle. And I'm so very grateful that he can talk now, because I didn't think he was ever going to talk. And yeah, I asked them to help him, and they did. And it's great. Thank you.
Oh, yes, Silvana, you're here. You can also talk on camera.
Can't talk now. I feel a little bit overwhelmed by that story. It was a beautiful story.
But it's
really.
the truth. Without Plumtree, if my son didn't have any help at all, he wouldn't talk. He wouldn't even look at people. And now he looks at people. He talks. He walks. He didn't walk either. I know Plumtree didn't help him walking, but other people did, others. But you helped him more than he ever needed help, because without him talking, I didn't know anything. I couldn't help him when he was in pain. I couldn't help him if he was crying. I couldn't when he wanted a drink. I couldn't even. He is a point. So to me, I didn't know what to do. And then when these people came and helped me, Plumtree came and helped, I was like, wow, they did something. And yeah, I'm grateful that Plumtree's around, and for other parents to have the same experiences that I did. And it's a wonderful thing. And I'm very, very grateful that you have helped me over these past few years. Yeah.
You're welcome. It's good to hear that other team members who are visiting families and working together with them are making a difference, because that's what professionals should be there for, to be making a difference and working with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like that happened with you and Jody and Tina.
Yeah, it's really good. At first I was like, oh, everyone's scared at first and seeing if anything was going to happen. And then when he started talking and saying words and looking at me for the first time in his whole life, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, he's looking at me. Oh, man. And he's talking, and I was like, oh, he said Mum. And it took him a while to talk and stuff. But then when he did, I was like, oh, man, now I know. And then he told me what's wrong and stuff. So he just changed into this little boy that was growing up. It was just a mad feeling. So I'm very grateful. Thank you. For dreams for my son is I want him to grow into a young man and go into the world and cope with everything else like everybody else in the world. Not feel like just because he has a disability does not mean he can't do everything like everyone else. So I want him to be able to cope. So I want him to, when he learns in school, he, you know, learns like everyone else. So as he gets older, I want him to know that getting a job is the right thing, and I want him to be able to, you know, cope getting a job. And yeah, as he gets older, my dream is I hope he gets a really good job and grows into this young man and has a good, happy life.